What if I told you that everything you think you know about understanding women is completely backwards? That the very approaches society teaches men are actually sabotaging their success? Tonight, we're diving into the dark psychological truths that most people are too uncomfortable to discuss, the Machiavellian principles that reveal how power dynamics really. By the end of this video, you'll understand why nice guys finish last, and more importantly, what actually works instead. There is a quiet truth about women that most men never hear early enough in their lives. It is the truth that presence, not pressure, shapes the entire dynamic of attraction. You see, a woman does not open her heart because a man pushes harder, speaks louder, or tries to convince her with grand gestures. She opens because she feels something in him that cannot be forced. She opens to the man who is anchored in himself. She opens to the man whose silence carries more sincerity than another man's speeches. And it is here, in this invisible space between intention and action, that most men unknowingly sabotage themselves. A woman can feel when a man is performing. She can feel when he is trying to impress her instead of expressing himself. Pressure is the language of insecurity. It is the subtle vibration of a man who believes he must earn her affection by bending himself into shapes that do not belong to him. When he does this, when he chases her attention instead of cultivating his presence, she senses the dissonance immediately. It's as if something within her withdraws, not because she dislikes him, but because she cannot trust the instability she feels. Presence, however, is different. Presence is a man who is fully in the moment, not trapped in fear or anticipation. He's not calculating the best response or obsessing over her reaction. He simply speaks when he has something real to say. He listens without trying to decode hidden meanings. He moves without trying to impress. This kind of man creates an atmosphere, an unspoken gravity, that draws her without effort. It isn't dominance, and it isn't passivity. It's alignment. It's the natural consequence of a man who knows who he is before he ever seeks who she is. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology ever attempted to label it. People gravitate toward what they cannot manipulate. A man who is centered, unshaken, and present is not easily moved by flattery or rejection. A woman senses this, and her respect grows long before her affection does. She is drawn to the man who does not crumble under the weight of her beauty, who does not shrink in the face of her emotions, who does not beg for reassurance because his self-worth was never dependent on her approval. And yet, there is a deeper twist to this truth, something rarely spoken aloud. Because if presence is the foundation of attraction, then what happens when a man mistakes stillness for silence, or confidence for detachment, or calmness for emotional distance? What happens when presence becomes so still that she begins to wonder whether he feels anything at all? There is a moment every man encounters in a relationship, though few understand it when it arrives. It comes disguised as a question, a challenge, a sudden shift in her tone, or a moment when she seems to push against your calm just to see what happens. Most men panic when this occurs. They believe she is being dramatic, unreasonable, or intentionally difficult. But in truth, she is doing something ancient, instinctive, and profoundly revealing. She is not trying to hurt you. She is trying to locate your center. A woman's tests are not attacks. They are emotional instruments designed to measure the firmness of the ground she stands on. When she raises her voice, she is not demanding obedience. She is observing whether your emotions belong to you or to her. When she questions your intentions, she is not doubting your worth. She is feeling for the strength beneath your certainty. When she challenges your patience, she's not seeking chaos, she's seeking clarity. And when she provokes you, she's looking for the line where your composure ends and your insecurity begins. Most men fail these tests not because they are weak, because they misunderstand their purpose. If you respond with anger, she senses a boy hiding inside a man's skin. If you retreat into silence out of fear, she feels a void where a spine should be. If you desperately try to justify yourself, she recognizes that your confidence is conditional, not grounded. Every reaction becomes a map of your emotional landscape, showing her the places where you are whole and the places where you are fractured. But when a man remains steady, calm, warm, and unwavering, something remarkable happens. She relaxes. Not because you dominated her, not because you ignored her, because she felt the presence of a man who cannot be shifted by a momentary storm. You reveal yourself not as someone who must control her emotions, as someone who simply does not get lost inside them. She sees that your mind is not tossed around by every wave she sends toward you, and this gives her the profound security to soften. This is why her tests appear strongest, right before she decides whether you are worth opening her heart to. She is not measuring your power over her. She is measuring your power over yourself. But here's where the real mystery begins to unfold, because if a woman tests to find your center, then what happens when she discovers that the center you show her isn't the center you truly live from at all? There is a quiet law of human nature that slips past most men because they are too busy performing to notice it. A woman does not respond to the image you project, the role you play, or the version of yourself you present to impress her. She responds to the truth beneath the performance. She feels the man, not the mask. And this is why so many men find themselves confused when their perfectly crafted persona falls apart in her presence. They forget that while men often listen with their ears, women listen with their intuition. They feel inconsistencies long before they can explain them. You cannot charm a woman into forgetting who you truly are. You cannot pretend confidence if your soul is trembling. You cannot fake self-respect when your actions reveal otherwise. She doesn't need to catch you in a lie. She only needs to feel the slight tremor in your energy when you stop being real. Women are not searching for perfection, only congruence. When your words and your being align, she relaxes. When they contradict, she withdraws. And this is where a deeper truth begins to unfold. A woman mirrors the man she's with, not the fantasy he hopes she will believe. If you live with anxiety, she will reflect chaos. If you approach life with hesitation, she will reflect doubt. If you move without clarity, she will reflect confusion. This is not manipulation. It is emotional resonance. She becomes the echo of your internal state, amplifying what already exists within you. Some men call this female unpredictability, not realizing they are witnessing the inevitability of their own unresolved patterns. She is not showing you who she is. She is showing you who you are when you stand in the presence of someone who can feel you. Machiavelli once observed that people reveal more through their reactions than their intentions. A woman embodies this truth perfectly. She does not analyze your psychology with logic. She perceives it with instinct. If your foundation is shaky, she feels the cracks immediately. If your confidence is an act, she senses the performance even when you think you're convincing. But when your presence is genuine, when you no longer perform, simply exist with quiet solidity, she mirrors that strength with trust, warmth, and depth. This is why some men experience the best version of a woman, while others experience the storm within her. She reflects what you draw out of her. She reflects the emotional climate you create. She reflects the man you truly are beneath the layers of defense and desire. But this raises a more unsettling question, one that many men avoid because they fear the answer. If she mirrors the man, then what happens when the man himself has no idea what he truly reflects? There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes that love is not the weakness he once believed it to be, but neither is it the anchor he must chain himself to. It is a space to move through, not a prison to remain trapped in. And this realization becomes especially crucial when dealing with the psychology of attraction, because the truth often learned too late is that a woman is not drawn to the man who clings, nor to the man who crumbles when she pulls away. She is drawn to the man who loves her deeply, yet remains capable of walking away if the relationship threatens his peace. Most men misunderstand this balance. They believe that devotion is measured by sacrifice, that love requires the forfeiting of one's own center, that a man must make himself smaller in order to make a woman feel valued. But what happens instead is subtle and destructive. The more he sacrifices himself, the less she respects him. Not because she is cruel, because the feminine instinct recognizes something fundamental about life. Anything that abandons itself to please another eventually loses its vitality. A woman feels safest with a man who does not abandon his identity, even as he offers his affection. She senses the difference between a man who stays because he chooses to, and a man who stays because he fears losing her. One is grounded in strength, the other in desperation. One commands respect, the other invites doubt. One creates admiration, the other creates emotional fatigue. And the irony is that the man who fears losing her is always the one who loses her the fastest. This is why the ability to walk away, even while loving her, is not a tactic, it's an energy. It is the quiet power of a man who knows he is complete with or without the relationship. He doesn't threaten departure, nor does he use silence as punishment. He simply has a life, a direction, a sense of internal gravity that cannot be dissolved by affection alone. And a woman feels this. She feels it in the way he sets boundaries without hostility, in the way he says no without guilt, in the way he holds himself steady even when disagreements arise. Machiavelli might have described it as sovereignty, the kind of self-possession that prevents a ruler from becoming a servant in his own kingdom. And in the realm of relationships, the same truth applies. A man who cannot walk away is not truly choosing to stay, he is merely clinging to comfort disguised as love. There is something deeper hidden beneath all of this, something men rarely confront. Because if a woman is drawn to the man who can walk away, even while he loves her, then what happens when the moment arrives where she tests whether that strength is genuine or merely a performance he hopes she never challenges? There is a certain calmness a man must learn if he wishes to understand the emotional world of a woman. Not a coldness, not a dismissal, but a grounded steadiness that allows him to witness her storms without being swept away by them. Most men, however, make the mistake of reacting to her emotions rather than relating to them. When she cries, they panic. When she's upset, they take it personally. When she's overwhelmed, they rush to fix everything. And in doing so, they lose the very thing she was searching for, a man who can remain himself, even when her feelings rise like a tide. A woman's emotions are not linear. They do not move in a straight line or obey logic the way a man's mind often tries to. They are waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, sometimes unexpected. But waves are not meant to be controlled. They are meant to be understood. The man who collapses into her emotions becomes part of the chaos she is trying to navigate. He loses the boundaries of where she ends and he begins. And when he loses himself in her emotional storm, she loses trust in his ability to ground the space they share. But the man who stands steady, who listens without absorbing, who empathizes without drowning, becomes something rare, a lighthouse, a point of orientation, a presence she can return to when her own feelings become too loud. He does not try to silence her, nor does he mirror her distress. He simply remains, still, warm, unshaken. And this steadiness does something extraordinary. It helps her feel safe enough to soften, express, and eventually return to calm on her own. Psychologically, this is a form of equilibrium, not dominance, not indifference, but the quiet strength of someone who owns his internal world. Machiavelli would say that influence flows naturally to those who cannot be easily provoked. And Alan Watts might whisper that the one who understands himself can understand others without fear. When a woman senses this depth in a man, she begins to relax in his presence. She feels she can trust his decisions, rely on his judgment, and let her guard down without risking emotional collapse on his part. The irony is that many men mistake this for emotional detachment, not realizing that true emotional strength requires staying open, not shutting down. It requires feeling deeply while still remaining centered. A woman does not need a perfect man, she needs a steady one. A man who can experience her emotions without becoming consumed by them. A man who can hold space without losing his own. But this understanding opens a new doorway, a more introspective challenge than most men expect. Because if she respects the man who stays centered while she storms, then what happens when the storm is not hers, but his? In the end, what we've uncovered is not a set of techniques, nor a manual for controlling the feminine mind, a deeper understanding of how a man must relate to himself before he can ever hope to relate to a woman. Presence over pressure, centeredness over chaos, truth over performance. These are not strategies, they are states of being. And every woman, whether she speaks it aloud or not, feels these states with instinctive clarity. A woman moves toward the man whose inner world is not for sale, whose emotions are his own, whose strength is quiet rather than loud. She tests not to break you, but to find out whether the place you stand is real. She mirrors not to manipulate, but to show you who you are beneath your armor. She is drawn to the man who carries love without losing himself, who can walk away not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. And she softens for the man who can hold her storms without dissolving into them. To understand women, then, is to understand yourself. To love a woman well is to become the kind of man who does not abandon his center. And the deeper mystery, the one we seldom acknowledge, is that the feminine does not ask for perfection, only consciousness. Only a man who is awake enough to see, strong enough to stay grounded, and wise enough to let her be what she is without trying to reshape her. Because when you embody this kind of presence, something remarkable happens. She stops fighting for control. She stops questioning your intentions. She stops doubting your commitment. Instead, she opens, she relaxes, she trusts, she follows your lead. Not because you demanded it, but because you became someone who inspires it naturally. And perhaps this is the truth someone should have told you long ago: a woman is not a puzzle to be solved, nor a storm to be feared, nor a game to be mastered. She is a mirror, a test, a reflection, and an invitation, calling you to rise into the man you were always capable of becoming.